Parker, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. This is a true pleasure for me to have you. Growing up, when I got serious about bowling, you immediately became my favorite bowler and someone that I tried to mimic my game after. So it's finally great to talk to you.
Well, I appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me on here.
So I know you said you're at your training center right now. Would you tell me a little bit about that and what you guys do there?
Actually, it's the home center that I grew up in. It's Howell Lanes in Howell, New Jersey. New Jersey's not a very big state, so if you put your finger right in the middle of the state, you'll pretty much end up where we're at. But that being the case, it was a 32-lane bowling center. And what sparked this whole interest was my wife gives an endless amount of lessons to a lot of the high school bowlers locally here. She used to bowl on the ladies' tour, and I try to help these students as much as I can and give lessons when I'm home. But being out on the road, it wouldn't be as prevalent for me. So you only have a window of roughly 3:30 to 5:30 because most bowling centers are redressing lanes for the late leagues and kids don't get out of school until 3 o'clock. And on weekends, let's face it, most bowling facilities are fairly packed or jammed with junior leagues and whatnot. So the Russo family, Matt Russo, bowls on tour. He also grew up in the same center. So his dad came to us with the idea, hey, what if we build a training center there? And we're like, a training center? Well, you start putting two and two together, and the owners of the bowling center here literally treat the sport like the sport should be treated.
Nice.
They want to see bowlers get better. They're not just in it for the money at the end of the day where you put your credit card and then check out and we'll let you know how much you owe. So we built a permanent wall down lane 6. We took out our machines that we had there. We put in 4 brand new Brunswick GSX machines and 1 string pin machine.
Okay.
String pin machine is for something different. It's a novelty, but it's different, especially youth. Youth are going to have an endless amount of tournaments on those. And now with the scoring system, we got the Brunswick Sync scoring system. So now we can punch in any spare combination at any given time, as well as give a physical lesson, as well as put lane patterns down there. So people literally, I'm going to say it bluntly, for 6-hour drive in a circle, 6 hours away, people come here for not only training purposes, but to work on their physical game as well.
Very nice.
It's really cool.
Very cool. Well, I certainly hope to make a trip up there someday to come check it out and get a lesson.
Well, I hope you get that opportunity. I'm not going to take anything away from Kaggle or USBC headquarters.
Sure.
Let's face it, folks, anybody listening in, they are the premier place to go if you really want to learn how to captivate and work on your game. Their wealth of knowledge behind the scenes pretty much says it all with what they do within the sport itself. But for a little hometown, where we are here in New Jersey, in the Northeast corridor, I believe that we have anything out there if you want to make your game get to the next level.
You mentioned string pin earlier, and that was actually that's actually a question I wanted to ask you about. What is your opinion on string pin, bowling on it personally?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like two-handed bowler. I'm more of a traditionalist, but when two-handed bowling came around, and just like string pin, if you're not open-minded to at least accept it and willing to try it, then you're really not a bowler at the end of the day. That doesn't mean that Parker Bohn's going two-handed, because I'm not doing that. Okay, we've tried to see that from time to time. It's pretty funny, but the string pin escapade, as you would look at it, really is a cost-effective appearance for a proprietor.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at proprietors trying to save money or upgrade their machines and keep things running on a status quo basis so that bowlers can go have fun and enjoy themselves, it really is the next wave of the future. Okay. And if you don't open your eyes to it and, put your arms around it and embrace it, then you might as well take your bowling equipment and put it at home in your garage permanently.
Any idea from being in the industry what the cost difference is between a mechanical pin setter and string pin?
Cost difference. I'm sure a string pin machine is a little bit different, lesser cost. The biggest thing is when I laugh at this one. There's a proprietor that I went to that has a 50-lane bowling center, and I got to know him fairly decent over the last couple of years. I walked into his center, and he goes, "Parker, since you've been here last time, guess what I did?" And I go, "Well, what is that?" He goes, "I changed. I took all my machines out. I put string pin machines." I go, 50 lanes worth? I said, oh my God, why did you do that? He reaches down under the desk and he puts a case box on the desk. And I go, what is that? He goes, these are my replacement parts for all 50 lanes.
Wow.
I go, oh my God. I mean, if you've been to the back of any average facility, there's minimum 50,000, if not $100,000 worth of parts back there.
Right.
And he's got it all sitting in a case box right in front of him because it's basically just a couple of strings, a couple of pins. You manipulate them, you move the pins around after a little while because otherwise the same basic pins, 1, 2, 3, and a 7, 10, are going to be the ones that are going to get hit all the time. And once you do that, pretty much you've got a home run. Wow. And I'd say this, we've had our facility here now for 2.5 years. Our worst problem on the string pin is an entanglement. You take a couple of minutes, you get them untangled, and the machine's up and running again. That's really great.
Well, I would certainly love to see more bowling centers if it means it's more cost effective for the proprietors than to not have any bowling centers at all. So if that's 100%. The way it's going, then, they still fly.
Everybody's looking to try to spend less money and get more for their money. And at the end of the day, as bowlers, we don't necessarily see that cost, but what we see as bowlers, unfortunately, is the center closing down that's near you. And it closes down because the proprietor can't keep up with the cost of rising times that are going on around them, be it gas, oil, electric, things of that nature, not to mention taxes, let's face it, But when you add all of that together and you can put something like that that's really purely cost effective in your facility, now bowlers can still go down there and bowl and they can do something that they truly love to do. And from my heart, I think that's the best part about it.
I wanted to point out something that I think I always loved about your game on tour was that you always seemed to be calm and collected. You always seemed to have a positive mindset no matter what was going on. And I was wondering how you developed that mindset, or was that something that came naturally to you?
I think one of the biggest things that I realized a long, long time ago, I was never going to be the guy that was going to move a mountain or destroy the machine. But that being said, as a young man, I'm going to go back when I was 11, 12 years old. I had a little bit of a temper. And one day I was out there bowling and my dad was watching me, which he was always working. So he didn't have that opportunity too much to come watch me bowl. And he would come and watch, and I'd throw the ball down a lane. I left a split and I come back and I gave the ball return a good sized kick, and then I got up and shot the spare. And when I came back, I gave it another little love tap, just because I was mad or upset. And he put his hand, he goes, hey, come on back here. I put my hand, go back there. He puts his hand around my shoulder. He goes, yeah, I see you left that split and you really gave that ball return a shot. I go, yeah, Dad, did you see that? I made sure I got it all that time. He goes, well, I'm here to tell you that if I ever see you do that again, first thing, you're going to walk all the way home, which as a kid that's 12 years old, we live 10 miles from the bowling center. So that was going to be a long walk. And the second thing right behind it was when I got home, he was going to put his foot where the sun doesn't shine. So needless to say, I haven't done that ever again. But no, you have to be humbled. I tell people all the time when you're bowling, and I mean this from my heart, we have all thrown great shots that turn into a solid 8, a solid 9, a 7, 10 split. And pretty much you go, why me? Why does this have to happen to me? At the same token, every single one of us that has thrown a shot has missed a head pin where something's fell into the 4 has fallen forward into the 2 falls into the 1, and the score machine gives you a strike. I've yet to see a bowler look up at the score machine and go, give me 7-2 for that frame. I don't deserve a strike. It all evens out.
Yep, that's true. If you know that you're in the wrong ball, what is your thought process moving forward?
Well, if I'm in the wrong ball, it's really simple to look just by looking at the scoring pace around you. Okay. Sometimes the wrong ball may not be striking, but you've got a couple of 8s and 9s with an occasional strike here and there, but everybody else around you is bowling 160 or 170. I trust my spare game at that point. So 190 pace or 2-0, if you get fortunate to get a double, you're picking up pins in the field. But a lot of times you could be in the wrong ball, and it's real simple to look up and you see somebody's got a triple. The guy over here is the front 4. Somebody down there is the front 6, and 210 or 220 is the scoring pace. and you look like you're struggling to get to 190. Well, you have to change. You got to do something. And you know what? You got to do it fairly quick. Lanes are going to change depending on the format, 5, 6, or 8 game block. But the thing you don't want to do is throw yourself into the tank or dig a foundation for the World Trade Center, because that's really, really tough to get out of.
Yeah.
Got to change right away.
And then I guess depending on what you're seeing the ball do, in fact, that kind of leads into my next question is, how do you know when the ball is too early?
Well, a lot of times when you're fighting the front part of the lane, you can't see it. But how you determine that is how your ball's going through the pins. So for me, maybe I'm fighting the front part of the lane where I feel like I threw the ball good and it checked up and it went high. So I move a little bit off of it. And then when I make a move, I go, oh, that ball looks really good. And then it rolls up for a flat 7 or a half 7. Or let's say that I barely get them all to fall down because I get a little bit of a bucket crunch, crumbler down there. It's obviously telling you that the ball is exhausting energy. It starts to pick up too soon, or that window is too shallow, and therefore it doesn't retain energy for the back part of the lane. When you find your ball picking up the proper way on the lane, it's amazing how when it goes through the pins, it's got a bigger sound to it. Pins are excited. They're moving all over the place. And obviously your opponent doesn't like that at all, because they go, oh boy, he's got control of the pocket with power. That's not going to benefit them.
What is your strategy for when you get lost?
I would say for me, and it should be this way for most people, you have to shut the lane down. If you're lost and you can't see the lane with your target in front of you, then you're not going to be able to understand what's going on around it. Now, that happens a little bit more drastically and different on the right side of the lane. Let's face it, the vast majority of bowlers are right-handed. The lane gets torn apart, or it starts to hook, or like you alluded to a minute ago, hooking early. So, but you still need to keep the lane somewhat under control, or classified like this. I always try to make sure I bring the lane to me, never have the lane bring me to it. So once I keep my angle shut down, I've got a better vision of the lane, then I can start to branch outside the box.
So when you say shut down the lane, are you then maybe going to a weaker ball and trying to just play straighter for a while and then start working your way back as necessary?
It doesn't necessarily mean a weaker ball. It could be the same strength in ball, but it's just the idea that I'm going to shut my angles down. Okay. If I shut my angles down and the ball doesn't respect it, or the lane doesn't allow the ball to respect it, then I may have to go to a weaker ball to, bring the lane back under control.
Did becoming one of the best in the world change you in any way, and what did you learn about yourself?
I still feel I'm the same person now that I was when I first went out on tour. At least I hope I am. There's obviously your friends tell you that you've never changed. Okay. And maybe there's some people that may not be happy with Parker Bohn for whatever the reason. But I've always lived by the rule. I treat everybody the same. All right. It doesn't matter to me how many pins you do knock over or you don't knock over. I always tried to treat Earl Anthony and Dick Weber, may they both rest in peace, the same as I would the new guy that comes out on tour, regardless whether Parker ever won or Parker won 20 or 30 PBA titles. And when I live by that or watch that, just like the gentleman I was giving a lesson to here earlier, he's a fairly decent bowler. But the day before that, yesterday, I was giving a lesson to a bowler that was about a 130 or 140 bowler. Okay. I'm going to give them the same respect all the way around. Hey, I feel very blessed for some of the things that I've accomplished on the lanes and what the sport of bowling has done for Parker Bohn and his family. And I want to share that with somebody else and allow them that same opportunity.
What is the greatest secret that you ever learned about bowling that helped advance you as a bowler?
The greatest secret. Oh boy. You always got to keep control of you, but I would say that the biggest secret, God, I'd say probably the biggest secret just going around is be open-minded, be willing to try something. Your game is formulated based on all of the practice that you've put in, all the time and efforts that you've put in behind the scenes. And we're all going to be different under any sort of pressure situation. And pressure is only something you bring upon yourself, but you're all going to react different to being there. So learn by it. So if you learn by every single situation, if you always resort back to what you know how to do best, and you go out there and repeat it, now opening up your eyes and ears to what's going on around you, I feel can help make you a much better player. So is it a secret? It's only a secret if you're not utilizing it properly. If you open up your eyes and open up your ears, there's plenty to learn right in front of you.
For you personally, what was the biggest disruptor of confidence, and how did you overcome that?
What was my biggest thing that disrupted confidence? I would say that my biggest thing for disrupting confidence was unable to repeat a shot to understand why. I was always in tune to what's going on. I always was willing to work. I've never been away, or let me say, walk away from something that wasn't completely right. There's a reason it's not right, and you got to be trying to figure out why. So the summer that I was 17, not knowing, I thought I knew how to bowl. I averaged 178 or 179. And then Dave Davis and his wife, thank God for my mom, she got in touch with them and asked them if they could teach me the proper way how to bowl. For 3 months, I couldn't average 150. It was crazy. But the will to go out there and figure it out, I wanted to do it again and again and again. Well, once I got it figured out, literally in 1 week's time, I started averaging 190 because I could make my spares. And then one step at a time, strikes came along. So, if you don't maintain a positive attitude at all times, you're never going to succeed at anything you're doing. And it's not just with bowling, folks. It's anything that we do.
What is the easiest and the hardest part about bowling for you personally?
I think the easiest part is when you're the guy that's striking all the time and everybody wants to do what you're doing. If I'm out there throwing one shot per frame, I feel like I'm in cruise mode. And I look at everybody else and I go, look, energy conservation mode is the best way to play this game. One shot per frame, I am not getting nearly as tired as everybody else, mentally or physically. The hardest part about the game is when you don't have a vision of the lane. All of us have our ups and downs. There's no question. And when I say that, I don't care if it's Walter Ray, Pete Weber, Norm Duke, myself, we've all had our good times and we've had our bad times. The key is not to make that pitfall too deep. Try to put your hands and grasp around what's going on. And sometimes it's hard because you feel like you're shooting a bunch of spares, and they're not all easy ones, okay? When you got more than one standing at the other end, it gets a little tricky. But when you see strikes going on around you and you want to get that instant, let's say, mega bagger, you don't know when that's going to start up, but you have to keep filling frames. So the toughest part is when you don't have a vision of the lane, how do you acquire that? And the best way to acquire it sometimes is taking more than a step back to understand your surroundings.
If you're like me, you're always working to improve your game. That's why I use Lane Talk. Lane Talk lets me focus on competing while it collects all my stats. After each event, I simply go in the app and collect my scores. It's that easy. Lane Talk gives me in-depth information showing me areas I need to work on. Download now in the App Store or Google Play. Join me and take your game to the next level with Lane Talk. I was curious, what do you hope your legacy will be as it continues on through your children?
I'm telling you right now, there is nothing more excited for me personally as a dad, watching my kids go out there and have success. I'm not a guy that gets teared up. People have watched me bowl on TV and whatnot. Even my wife says the same thing. You don't get teared up or choked up about too many things. But watching the success that my kids can have out on the lanes, I could sit back and never throw a bowling ball again. And that's not going to be the case right now. Okay. But I could sit back and never throw a bowling ball again and watch them live all the limelight and success that they have on the lanes. Our boys have been bowling for quite some time now, watching them go out there and win junior gold. Justin, I'll say fortunately, he won it once. But then Brandon fortunately won junior gold 3 different times, and obviously won the U22 Masters last year. It's overwhelming. I mean, I get chills thinking about it. What they accomplished on the lanes. And our daughter, she didn't pick up bowling until she was 11 years old. And one thing led to another. No, she didn't win junior gold, but she did make one of the step ladder finals. She finished 3rd one year at junior gold, and she bowled her way by herself to Junior Team USA this year. So all 3 of our children have been on Junior Team USA. That just tells me that they're really doing a lot of listening to mom when mom's telling them what to do on the lanes.
None of your input, just as all mom.
Yeah, maybe I sprinkled it a little bit.
Is it more, do you get more nervous watching them compete than you felt yourself when you were on tour?
Well, I would say that yes, because I can't control it. All right. It's always much easier if you have the ball in your hand and you can go out there and control it. But not just with my own kids. I'll say this because I've helped a lot of boys and girls along the way, and I treat them all the same as if they're my own children. I'm going to give you the proper tools to go out there and become the best that you can possibly become. Once that ball is in your hand, and I trust my kids when they have the ball in their hand, once that ball is in your hand, it's completely up to you to go out there and make the best pass that you possibly can. And hopefully the pin gods are on your side and reward you at the other end.
If you could go back in time and give advice to your 17-year-old self, what would you tell you?
I wish I would have been willing to try more things when I was 17 instead of just be the wiry, let it go kid that thought, I didn't think I knew everything, but I wish I would have acquired learning a little bit more. There are certain things that I felt like I learned pretty decently, but you really don't know how much outside the box you can get until you're tested or willing to try it. As much as I had the opportunity to do almost anything I wanted to do in a bowling center, I didn't try, let's say bluntly, hooking a bowling ball. I don't hook a ball as much as somebody else. And a lot of that has to do with my wrist. I hurt my wrist a long time ago when I was 19. But even as a young man, when I was 15, 16, 17, I feel like if I tested myself to get outside of the box, I probably could have learned how to hook it more freely without trying to overwork it. So where you lose something, maybe you gain something else. So, maybe whatever I acquired when I was 17, maybe that allowed me to become the bowler that I did over the last 40 years.
What is the greatest advice you were ever given, either in life or in bowling?
One of the greatest pieces of advice that I had, believe it or not, came from Dave Davis a long, long time ago. He said, more or less, if you don't have something positive to say, then don't say it at all. All right. Negative Nelly is not going to go out there and win anything. You can speak on a negative side if it's constructive criticism and you're trying to figure out how is it going to make you or the surroundings get better. But to just get out there and be outlandish at someone or at something, it wasn't going to make the picture any better. And I know that I'm being brutally honest. As a left-handed bowler, there are certain times that I have no chance when I walk into an event. It just falls out that way. But I also know, and I'm not dumb to it, that there are certain times that I walk in and I go, oh boy, the boys on the right are going to have a little tough time to keep up with us, be it today or this week. So it all evens out. And if you're open-minded to it, basically realistic about it, truthful, then that's the way. If you stay that way, you'll get a lot further.
What did you have to sacrifice to get to the point in your career you have now?
Oh boy, that's an easy one. The biggest sacrifice of being where I am right now is unfortunately having my family not be out on the road with me as much. I've got 2 older boys, love them both to death, that are 32 and 35, that I know when I was out on tour in the beginning, they didn't have that opportunity to travel with me near as much as my 3 children that we have now. The separation away from family, it eats at you. And I don't care who it is. God bless Jason Belmonte. His family's down in Australia, for God's sakes. He comes over here for a couple, 2-3 months at a time. It gets tough. at least my family is basically only a plane flight away on the other side of the country, or for that matter, a couple hour drive away from the last tour stop. So the sacrifice of your family being missed is probably the biggest loss that you cannot get back.
If you could pick just one thing that made you so successful as a bowler, what do you think that would be?
I think that the biggest thing that made me as successful as I am is not afraid to outwork someone else. Okay. If it wasn't right, I'd be in there working at it. I know when I was first out on tour back many moons ago, you're going to laugh when I tell you this, in 85 and 86 and 87, when things weren't right for Parker Bohn, I had actually asked the lane man if I could come in there and practice at 5 a.m. when he got there to do the lanes. I didn't care what was on the lanes out past the foul line. Something residual from the day before, whether it was a practice lane or an off pair, I didn't care. But working at my own physical game at 5 a.m. allowed me the freedom to be there by myself and work on things. Now occasionally I'd have a ball rep with me, don't get me wrong, especially over the last, since probably the early to mid 90s, where ball reps started to become prevalent. Now you can have somebody else physically looking at your game a lot longer, or for much longer while you're out there. But even then, I would be out there working. And I know specifically one of the TV shows that I made the show, qualified second or third. And after we got done with our 16 games of match play that day, I was out practicing that night until 11 or 11:30 because something wasn't right.
What hobbies do you have off the lanes, or do you have any other interests outside of bowling?
I attempt to play golf. Okay. But probably the biggest hobby is being around my house. I enjoy doing things around my house. I'm not going to say that I've got the honey-do list from my wife, because I think every guy has that. But it's not just her list, but it's my own list. There's something that I want to see around our house that I get success out of, whether it's, taking care of your yard or painting a room or putting something together outside in the front or the back of the house. We're inside all the time as bowlers. So I really enjoy the outside activities that I can go out there and enjoy and smell fresh air and be out there living, I'll say, the free life or freedom of being outside.
How would your friends and family describe you? I
would hope that they describe me as, just cool, calm, and collective, and just enjoyable to be around. Maybe there's times that I get under their skin. I guess I could ask my wife that one. Okay. But, I try to take everything with a grain of salt. I don't let anything get to the best of me. If something's going on, regardless of what it is, not only on the lanes, but definitely off the lanes. I guess probably the biggest thing is I've been able through the years to separate bowling from what goes on after bowling or before bowling. And I can tell you this, Tim, and I mean this because my wife has said this to me on 2 different occasions. I got done bowling the Masters one year and I left the bucket to lose. I needed a strike. It was close, had a chance, but whatever the case, it got there. And less than 5 minutes, I looked at her and I go, all right, what are we doing for dinner? She goes, you're not upset? You're not distraught? I go, babe, that was 5 minutes ago. Okay. Or 10 minutes, whatever it was. Okay. I can't change that now. So therefore, all I can do is learn from that to become a better player. Well, fortunately, I did win the Masters the following year or 2 years later. Okay. And at the same time, I threw a strike against Norm Duke to win the Roll to Riches, $150,000. Once again, 5 or 10 minutes after that was done, I looked at her and I said, where are we going for dinner? And she looked at me and goes, are you kidding? You just won $150,000. I go, babe, that was then. Now, what are we doing together as a family?
Yeah. And I hope you're going to a steakhouse with $150,000.
Yeah, I think she did give me a choice that night. I was able to go wherever I wanted to go, but we did. We went out for a good meal. But, it's got to be that way. What happens on the lanes, my family, God bless every single one of them, they did not make any one of my shots, good or bad, happen. I'm the one that did that. So therefore, to take it out on them Okay. And even if they were friends, they didn't have anything to do with my shot. But at the same time, we can all go celebrate if I just won. And don't get me wrong, maybe they're still living that high. I should maybe live it a little bit longer. But once that shot is gone, if I've won that tournament, my mindset, okay, where am I going to the next tournament? How can I do that all over again?
Yeah. Well, that's great advice. What would you say are your personal values?
My personal values are you're only going to get out of something by what you put into it. So I know, and I mean this from my heart, I don't work as hard at my game now as I did at one time. A lot of that is the fact that like I just said, I'm 61. So physically, you can't go out there and bowl 200 games a week like I did when I was 17. Bowling the tour for all those years, we were averaging probably minimum 60, if not 80 games, sometimes 100 games per week between practice, pro-am, the actual tournament competition. And then you were literally getting in your vehicle or a plane to fly to the next tournament that was going to start in less than 24 hours after that. So I'm a firm believer, if you work hard at it, whatever it is, once again, it doesn't have to be bowling, but for me, it was bowling. If you work hard enough at it, you will figure it out if you're working on the right things.
What is your definition of success?
My definition of success would probably be an accomplishment that you've acquired once it's all said and done. Now, that's in different levels. It really seriously is. Success could be, I want to practice my 7 pins. I want to learn, I want to make 10 or 20 of them in a row. I want to make them where I'm not worried about it. The ball's coming off my hand. Success could be winning a PBA stop. It doesn't matter whether it's a regional, a senior tournament, a PBA regular tour stop. Success could be making the cut. But success could also be painting a room at home and really looking at it when it's all said and done and put back together, and you give it this look and go, wow, it's mission accomplished. It looks awesome. So success is on a bunch of different levels. It just depends what it is that you're trying to get to.
What makes you feel most alive?
I get enjoyment all the time, to the biggest extent, of watching someone else succeed. It started out a couple minutes ago when you asked me about my kids. Okay. I mean, there's nothing better for a parent feeling watching your siblings go out there and achieve success. And it doesn't always work that way. Trust me, there's many more failures, just like what I had out on tour. There's many more failures than there are success stories, but it's really rewarding. So if I go out here and I work with a bowler, regardless of level, and you watch them go out there and throw a couple in a row, or the ball does what they need to, or they've got the balance, or they're hitting their target, and they really understand meat and potatoes as to what's going on, that's success. At the same time, when you're looking at the little kid that throws a lot of balls in the gutter, and I've walked through the bowling center many a times, and I go, hey, why don't you try this or look at that target there? They knock one pin down. To that kid, what he or she is feeling at that moment is no different than I would feel winning a big check and trophy on the approach on national TV.
Who has been your greatest teacher?
Who has been my greatest teacher? I would say that starts with your mom and dad. Okay. Mom and dad may not, my dad was a good bowler, but he was mainly local. He had no PBA experience whatsoever. And my mom, she was probably about a 165 bowler at best. But if they didn't understand it, they wanted to try to find out where I could achieve it. So, like I said a long time ago, it started out with Dave Davis and his wife. And being the little kid that was 17 at the time, if you lived in our area, which I was able to do that, it was just luck of the draw that it fell out this way. If I tell you the 3 pros that lived within 30 minutes of me that I did not know until after this time, none other than Dave Davis, this other guy named Mark Roth, and the third one named Johnny Petraglia. How could you not stand to get better if you closed your mouth and opened up your eyes and your ears? And one by one, all 3 of them, I feel, helped propel me into making me the bowler that I am. but I'm still going to give the nod forthright to my mom and dad.
What made you fall in love with bowling at the start?
Well, I was never that big burly guy that I was going to play the front line of the football team because I was going to get run over. I tried track and field. I tried a lot of other sports. I was just telling this to somebody the other day that I played almost every possible thing to do in track and field in spring when I was in school, including shot put. And that was comical. Okay. Because I've never bench pressed more than 100 pounds in my life. But when I watch those things happen, I believe that they all make you turn into be the person that you are today. So you want to go out there and do what you can do, but it's a learning experience. It truly is.
I guess it kind of goes back to what you're saying about trying different things when you're younger, trying different things and finding out what you're good at.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You got to try it all, because if you don't, once you become an adult, let's face it, you grow up and you have a job, you're not going to have as much freedom to go out and do certain things that you want to do. And you need to go out and try certain things. So I'm going to tell you this one, and this is a funny story. Our son, Brandon, and everybody for the most part knows Brandon right now. You can see where he's at, the success he's having on the lanes. My wife put them into different sports growing up. Well, she signed our son up for soccer one time, and he's about 5 or 6 years old. And like most kids, he's, picking the daisies out of the grass, for God's sakes. And it's one of those days, it's about 39 or 40 degrees, drizzly outside, and he's at the other end of the soccer field. And the team has the ball at the other side, and he makes eye contact with her. And he goes beeline, running right over to her. And he looks right at her and he goes, it's drizzling. She's drinking a hot chocolate. She's got a jacket on. She's a little cold. And he goes, Mom, just who signed me up for this anyway? Okay. She chokes for a second. She turns around with a big smile. She goes, well, I did. And he goes, okay, thanks. And he runs right back out to the field. Okay. So it's memories like that really go a long, long way. Did we know that he was going to be a soccer buff or a bowler at that point? Absolutely not. But he did try it, and it's still something that we all get a laugh at today.
Well, final question. What is your favorite bowling memory?
Oh, boy. That's changed quite a bit throughout the years. There's more than one.
So you can share them all.
I'm sorry?
You can share them all if you like.
Yeah. Well, the first one was winning the PBA Tour Stop that had my own name on it. Okay. The Bohn III Empire State Open. People don't realize the news media stuff that I was doing in the morning at 7 a.m. And then when I was bowling well in the event, still doing the news sportscast at 11:25 at night. There was a lot of hours that went into that week. And then to still stand tall when it was done was simply incredible. Obviously, if you bowl on tour, winning one or your first title is a dream come true for anybody. And nobody will ever forget their first title. But probably the most prized possession that I have, tournament-wise or victory-wise, undoubtedly would be the 2012/13 PBA World Championship. For a lot of people around the country, they remember this little thing called Superstorm Sandy that hit the East Coast. Mm-hmm. Well, that hit the eastern shore of New Jersey about 30 minutes from my house, and it was devastating. When I say devastating, we lost some trees, branches. It took me 2 days to clean my property up. The neighbor had 2 trees through 2 cars in his driveway.
Wow.
That's more catastrophic than I had.
Yeah.
30 minutes from us, people were losing houses and lives. All right. All I had to do was go out and clean my yard. So it wasn't nearly as devastating for me, but in our area, it was an absolute catastrophe. I didn't know if I was going to go to the PBA event. We had lost electric. Literally, we acquired electric. And then I looked at my wife. I said, look, they still have 2 more practice sessions the next day. Maybe I can get on a plane and go. And she says, we're okay now, which we were. I didn't want to leave them, unrest without electric or power. And they were fine. They were solidified. I went out there, bowled all 4 events, didn't qualify for any of the individuals, but qualified 24th for the big one, the World Championship. Worked my way through 3 rounds of match play, snuck all the way up into 5th place. Now we've got a day buffer zone. So the show is not till Sunday, and it's Friday night. Snowstorm hits the East Coast now. Now they got a foot of snow, 10 inches or a foot of snow.
Wow.
They lose power again. I said, how about you guys get on a plane and come on out here and be with me? So Leslie and the kids got on a plane. Obviously, they think it's excited. They come out to watch me bowl the TV show live 2 days later on Sunday. Lo and behold, I start out in fifth and work my way, go right through the line. Everything unfolds. I get a mark in the 10th, or I throw the first strike in the 10th to beat Belmo. Now I win the coveted title, and I've got nothing but respect for Jason Belmonte. But having my wife and children in the front row, watching that all take place, from my heart, that will go down as the best memory Parker Bohn can have on the lanes.
Well, Parker, it's been an absolute pleasure having this time to speak with you and hearing your stories. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge and wisdom. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you putting this all together and for allowing me to take place and be part of it. So hopefully you bring many more bowlers out here and continue to promote the sport that we all know and love.
Well, thanks so much, Parker.
Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye, everybody.